Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us today to explore what the upcoming May 5th ballot proposal means for Livingston County. My name is Steve Williams, and I'd like to welcome you here to the Emergency Management Facility. Thank you very much for taking time out to learn more about this very important issue. We've invited 3 subject matter expert speakers to present information tonight. Carmen Palumbo from the Southeastern Michigan Council of Governments will speak about from the state and regional perspective. Mike Crane from Livingston County Road Commission will speak about the local perspective. And Bill Anderson, also from SEMCOG, will speak about tax policy. Following the presentation, our speakers will take 10 minutes of general questions, and after 10 minutes, we'll have 2 breakout sessions on either side of the room. Questions regarding road conditions will be held on the left side of the room, questions regarding tax policy on the right side of the room. We'll gather back together and have a final closing at 8 p.m. So our first speaker here to present the state and regional perspective of the ballot proposal is Carmen Palumbo from the Southeast Michigan Council of Government. Carmen holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in Civil Engineering from the University of Detroit and has 39 years of experience in various phases of transportation planning with SEMCOG. Carmen is the go-to guy on road issues in Southeast Michigan.
Thank you, Commissioner, and good evening to everybody, and thanks for the opportunity to be here tonight to talk to you about this proposal. What we hope to do tonight is to educate you on what the ballot proposal does, what it doesn't do, what it says, and to make sure that when you go and cast your ballot, as we hope that you will, you'll be a more informed voter as we go forward. So that's our purpose tonight. I want to put things in perspective, particularly for the other 2 speakers that will come behind me. Last time we had a gas tax increase in the state of Michigan was 1997. At the time, the gas tax was 15 cents a gallon, and in 1997 it was raised 4 cents to the current 19 cents a gallon. That was 17 years ago, to try to put this in perspective. A lot of things have changed in 17 years, especially as it relates to the amount of revenue that road agencies receive in order to do their work. The slide here shows exactly what's happened from a funding point of view over the years, since 2001 anyways, to get on the chart so you could read it, 2001 to 2014. And you see that for most of those years, we've had fewer dollars in order to invest in our system. And why is that, do you ask? Well, there's a combination of issues that we've had to address. First is the legislature hasn't increased the rate. So the rate of taxation has not increased, as I said, since 1997. The car that you're driving, it gets more miles a gallon today than it did 17 years ago. So if you're driving about the same amount of miles, you're paying significantly less in terms of gas tax. Price of gas has gone up, and that means that for a lot of people, they don't make the trip that they used to make, so they're driving fewer miles on top of that. Economy is starting to pick up again, and so hopefully that situation is in the future going to go away or be less of an issue. We had a recession, a lot of people out of work. Again, fewer people driving cars. And we also have more electric vehicles today, we have more hybrid vehicles today. The electric vehicles don't pay any tax to improve your road system, and hybrid vehicles pay less. So a combination of all these things have led to a situation where we're receiving fewer dollars. And this graph has not been touched up for inflation at all, so when you also talk about buying power, that buying power of those dollars also has been impacted. So what's happened since 1997? Well, we've gone to the legislature a number of times, in fact, almost every year, and said, we got to have some more money if we're going to improve our road system. And every year, pretty much, the legislature has said no. In 2002, though, they did come back and they said to us, well, we're going to give you asset management. We're going to set up an asset management approach. And what does that mean? Well, without getting into the whole thing tonight, what it means, part of what it means is that we're going to set up one process statewide for how we analyze our major road system, how we collect data, and we're going to require you to collect data on a regular basis and report back to us on what the conditions of the roads are, so that we can, a good road in Detroit and a good road in the UP should look the same. A bad road in Detroit and a bad road in the UP should look the same. And so they set up an asset management council in order to develop that process. I was chairman of that council for the first 12 years of his existence. And we did develop a process that has been used now since 2004 for collecting data on the major street system, as well as some of the minor road system that we have. And we have to report the condition to the legislature and to the governor every year, which we have done in May of every year. And so I want to show you what the survey that we do, the condition rating survey of our pavements, are at critical points in this process. So in 2004, the first year that we did the survey, you can see we only had 10% of our system, the major roads. It's about a 40,000 mile system in the state. 10% of that was in poor condition, 73% in fair. Characterize that by 2014, which is the last time the survey was done. See 43% of our system is in poor condition. 4 times the number of miles of road in 10 years has gone poor. And the projections are, without any increase in funding, pretty much almost 3 out of every 4 miles in that major system is going to be poor if we continue not to invest in our system. I hope this isn't a surprise to anybody sitting here. I think you've experienced the deterioration over the years. It's not going to get any better. It's only going to get worse. And this is the good news. The bad news is on our local streets, the street in front of your house, not the major streets, we know anecdotally, even though we don't have all the data in, but we know anecdotally that system is even worse than this system. And that's something that we're trying to get even more information on so that we can paint a more complete picture. The rate of deterioration is getting worse. Our numbers show that in the last 2 years, 500 miles of road have gone from fair to poor. And the Asset Management Council is going to come out tomorrow with their 2014 numbers that are going to give a lot more information about that. So the deterioration is continuing and it's increasing. This winter didn't do us any favors at all. So the proposal that we're talking about today, and that you're going to hopefully vote on May the 5th, provides the revenue that we need in order to improve the road system statewide. It's going to reverse this trend. It's not going to fix everything, but it's going to provide a significant amount of revenue that's going to help us turn this around to the point where you're going to start seeing more roads in good condition and in fair condition than what you're seeing right now. It's not perfect. It's not going to fix everything, but it's going to help us to fix this trend. So I'm going to ask Mike to come up now. Is that your job or my job?
My job.
It's your job. I don't want to do your job.
Maybe by the speed.
All right. But Mike is going to come in and show exactly what this means to Livingston County. I didn't take that job away from you, did I?
Yes, presenting the local perspective is Mike Crane, Managing Director of the Livingston County Road Commission. Mike has worked for the county since 1973 in a variety of roles. He graduated from the University of Detroit and has graduate degrees from the University of Michigan and Wayne State. I'm sure Mike is known and loved by everyone in the room tonight, and I know that in my time as a commissioner, I have spent a considerable amount of time on the phone with Mike and have learned a great deal about roads, and now he's going to tell you the bad news from the local perspective.
Thank you, Steve. Good evening. What I have found to be a necessary commercial, not for most of you as I look around this audience who are familiar with this, but Livingston County Road Commission, we got county in our name and are proud to, but we are really not part of the county's general fund or directly part of their budgeting process. In the state of Michigan, the funds for roads are developed through gas and weight taxes or gas and registration taxes. Those are the dollars that we survive on. We get about $12 million a year. About $1 million of that is used in construction. Most of the construction you see every year is really, we're helped out by townships and by the federal government. So most of the money that you see spent in surface overlays, that type of thing, aren't really coming out of those MTF dollars. They're coming out of local tax dollars. Our chart for revenues looks remarkably like the statewide chart. Big surprise, huh? But those inflation costs that Carmen referred to, they're a big deal. Since 2004 that we've been keeping track of it, things like steel, think pipe culverts, think that blade that rides underneath the truck or the motor grader. They've risen in expense about 80% in that period. Everything we do comes out of an oil drum in one way or the other. Aggregate that's mined and crushed has to use fuel to do it. Asphalt that's placed in the roads. Asphalt went from $30 a ton to $70 a ton in this period. Huge increases driven by markets beyond the control of the state of Michigan. We have a big inventory. We're going to be talking about a very important subset of that inventory, but we've got about 1,334 what we call centerline miles or down the road miles. Some of them are 5 lanes, some of them are 2 lanes, some of them are barely 2 lanes. But it's 1,334 miles, 324 miles of that, what we would think of as major roads. There's a good subset of local connector roads that are important, about 250 miles of subdivision street or public county roads. We have 646 miles of gravel roads, a bunch of bridges, and a bunch of culverts in size from 3 foot to 19 and a half feet, over 300 of those scattered around the county. We're going to be talking about only this small subset. Bridges are part of the system. We're not going to be talking about bridges, but they're an important part to keep in mind. They're the most expensive 45 feet you're going to drive over on any given road. About 80% are in good condition, 21% are not in good condition. They're in poor condition. That breaks out a little differently. Some of the good are also kind of narrow, but that's their only deficit, is that they're narrow, but they're structurally sound. Of the 20% that are in poor condition, 11 of them are stable at the high threshold mark of poor. 7 of them are plunging fast, and we have had to close bridges in this county.